Coming up on today's video, we're going to react to what Bobby Marks of ESPN had to say about Isaiah Hartenstein and his upcoming free agency. He listed 2 teams to watch, and he found out a way that the New York Knicks could bring him back. Also, we spoke on Mikal Bridges. There's been a lot of talk on being hard capped at that first apron. Marks made it seem like the Knicks are going to shuffle that trade around to not hard cap them. So we've got a lot of quotes to break down and the latest news. But first, I just want to say thank you to every single person that has subscribed to New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. Yesterday, we crossed over 50,000 subscribers. That is an amazing achievement, an awesome milestone to pass. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you to everybody out there. I'm just a kid that grew up rooting for the New York Knicks, and now I get to talk about them every day for my job and a living. So shout out to all of you, 100K right around the corner. Alrighty, we're just a couple hours away from free agency. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green, and let's just dive into it. Bobby Marks of ESPN just put out a podcast of his own. Go check it out on YouTube, talking about Bridges and Hartenstein. This is what he had to say, quote, Brooklyn and New York's trade has not been made official. I would expect that it gets done on July 6th. I would expect it to expand. I would expect New York to add a player in the mix, whether it be another player on the roster or a player used in a sign and trade. The Knicks are not going to hard cap themselves at the first apron. That's not happening. And there's been a lot of talk about that trade package and the Knicks drafting Mikal Bridges in that first round because they thought they were going to be hard capped at that first apron. And I said it from the moment it happened. This front office is way too smart, calculated, and forward thinking to make a trade a day before the NBA draft that would hard cap them at that first apron because they gave up less salary than they are returning. You look at the trade details in totality, the New York Knicks, they get Mikal Bridges in a 2026 second-round pick while sending Bojan Bogdanovic 4 unprotected first-round picks, a 2025 protected first-round pick that comes from the Milwaukee Bucks, an unprotected pick swap in 2028, and a future 2025 second-round pick. So because that Bojan makes around $19 million and Bridges is closer to 23, when you are over the luxury tax and you have a trade that happens where you are accepting more money than shipping out, you are going to be hard capped at that first apron. A way that the Knicks could manipulate this trade package, Jonathan Macri of Knicks Film School tweeting it out the other day saying that it could still be Diakite plus 1 second-rounder, but on a 4-year deal, presumably with very little by way of guarantees. And then Fred Katz of The Athletic says John is also correct. There's been a lot of talk about Precious Achiuwa in a sign-and trade, as well as Daquan Jeffries. Jeffries is no longer an option because he's a free agent. They could still find a way to make it happen with Achiuwa, but this seems like the most likely way. Shout out to Macri of Knicks Film School. Awesome podcast. Check him out. And Fred Katz of The Athletic. He does an awesome job as well. Marks also said this in his podcast, quote, so they'll hard cap themselves at the second apron, which is $189.5 million. It will give them $11 million more in flexibility. They'll save $20 million basically to fill out the roster. If they trade Mitchell Robinson, they will be able to hopefully bring back Isaiah Hartenstein. He will get offers once free agency opens. We'll talk more about Hartenstein in a second, but I want to focus a little bit on what Marks had to say about trading Mitchell Robinson. As you see, this cap sheet picture comes from Jeremy Cohen. Check him out on Twitter. Does an awesome job as well. He's really hip to the new salary cap and the CBA. And he just posted a picture of if the Knicks are able to bring back Hartenstein at that 16.1 starting salary in a 4-year, $72 million deal, and you still have the Mikal Bridges contract on your books with the 3 second-round exceptions, you are a first apron team, but you are $430,000 above the second apron. And yes, the Knicks could go throughout the season with that much money trying to manipulate the roster, but I just see, like Bobby sees, that it's more likely that Mitchell Robinson is traded. That way they have more money to expand on the roster, maybe add 2 players in that spot, or other ways to just have more cap space to make future deals. And I don't think the New York Knicks want to be a second apron team right now, so it sounds like a Robinson trade is still alive and could happen We'll keep you up to date on that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Look, I just don't see how it's happening. Whether Hartenstein leaves in free agency, then you keep Mitchell Robinson, or then you trade Mitchell Robinson. That way you could keep iHeart. I find it very hard to believe that Hartenstein and Robinson will be back on the Knicks next year, and that's upsetting because right now the Knicks are already going to be a first apron team, and these photos come from my guy Yassi on Twitter. Check him out. He's awesome with the salary cap, posts awesome content as well. I want to get him on the show. Just a busy time for both of us right now. We will make it happen, though. We made these awesome graphics explaining the first apron. If your payroll is expected to exceed $178.7 million, you are a first apron team. The Knicks currently, as that Bridges trade is constructed, are hard capped at the first apron, but are expecting it to change. Some restrictions. You cannot take in more salaries in a trade than sending out. You're limited to the $5.2 million taxpayer mid-level exception. You cannot sign buyout players whose salary was at least $12.9 million. That is a massive piece of information I don't think people are talking about. We're going to be once again at that buyout market next year, and maybe the Knicks are trying to add a player, so you'll have to pay attention to that. And then you cannot use trade exceptions generated from the previous season. Teams that are first apron, Lakers, Heat, and the New York Knicks. You definitely don't want to be that second apron team like the Celtics, Nuggets, Clippers, Milwaukee Bucks, Minnesota Timberwolves, or Phoenix Suns if you're going to continue to try to add solid players to this team like I think the Knicks are. Some of their repercussions. All first apron restrictions apply, plus no aggregating players in trades. You can only do 1-for-1 or 2-for-2. You can't send out 2 and only take back 1. No sending out cash in trades as well. You cannot sign and trade free agents in exchange for players. No spending exceptions. No spending exceptions besides bird rights and minimum signings. So you are really handicapped if you are in that second apron. And that really just brings it all back to Isaiah Hartenstein. If he is going to be brought back and you're going to bring back Mitchell Robinson, you are right on the brink of that second apron. That's why I think they are most likely going to be separated. And it feels like Isaiah Hartenstein's going to get a bag, and I'm just not so sure it's with the New York Knicks. Look, he is an awesome player, still just 26 years old, had his best season of his career, and there's other teams across the league that have taken notice that this guy is a really good young player, only going to get better and better, and was an instrumental piece with the New York Knicks the last 2 seasons, offensively and defensively. And it sounds like Bobby Marks believe that it's not just the Oklahoma City Thunder that are in on Marks, in on Hartenstein, excuse me. He says this, quote, "Certainly keep an eye on Orlando for him. Keep an eye on KCP in Orlando. They have $52 million roughly in cap, $49 million in cap space. They can split it up and use it on both players." And I've been saying it for a while. Hartenstein seems like he is going to leave for the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I think Marks brings up a good point that Orlando could be a viable spot as well. It's hard to ignore what Hartenstein has done and become over the last couple of years. Look, he's a guy that came to the New York Knicks on a 2-year, $16 million deal, 8 per. Starts as a backup, starts to show later in that first season as he's going to be an integral piece to this rotation and the team's success. Then Mitchell Robinson in year 2 starts the season, but it's Hartenstein who takes over as the starter, and this game goes to another level. This Knicks offense went to another level, and the defense, some would argue, even got better. He's so gifted as a passer. That push shot from inside the paint really opened up his offensive game. I think he's only going to get better and better, and I'm just worried that it may not be with the Knicks because you see other deals that are being signed by NBA free agents that play the center position. Nick Claxton just signed a 4-year, $100 million deal, $25 million per. Rashawn Holmes just signed for $13 million per. And Isaiah Hartenstein can only be offered this year $16.2 million. Knicks can only offer him a 4-year, $72 million deal because they are over the cap and they only have his early bird rights. If Claxton's making $25 million, I think the average annual value of 18 for Isaiah Hartenstein just simply may not be enough, which means my ultimate prediction for him is that he's going to put pen to paper early on in free agency and either go to a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Orlando Magic, and we could see a 4-year, $80 million deal, 4 years, $90 million, 4 years, $100. Maybe someone gives him that Nick Claxton deal, and it'll absolutely be worth it. He's going to leave big shoes to fill behind, and I'm not sure that there's any player available within the Knicks price range that will fill those shoes. So, Isaiah, if this is the end of you as a New York Knick, I just want to say thank you for for everything that you've done for this organization. It's been awesome to see you grow and play these past 2 years with the Knicks. I hope you come back, but man, go get your bag. You have absolutely earned it. Who are some players that could replace him? We've been talking about Gogo Batatse, Jonas Valanciunas, Nick Richards, James Wiseman, Andre Drummond, Jackson Hayes. Jalen Smith is a player that's intriguing. Wiseman and Smith are probably two of the top players on that list for me. Can Tom Thibodeau work his center magic on a young, skilled, talented player in Wiseman that has not been able to get his career off the ground? And could maybe a guy like Jalen Smith that could stretch the floor on offense be a good yin to the yang of Mitchell Robinson? Last time. It's the last time we're doing this. Maybe he doesn't sign somewhere today, and he signs somewhere else. Maybe we will run it back. But if you want the Knicks to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein, hit that thumbs up icon. Good vibes today. Good vibes today. You want to win a championship? You want to be a contender for the next couple of years? Come play for the Knicks. But I'm also not going to be mad at you if you just go secure the bag because you have ultimately earned it, Mr. Hartenstein. Make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Same handle, @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up over there. Join us live on the channel in a couple of hours as we are live for NBA free agency day 1 and day 2. So sub, like, do all the cool stuff, and let's go Knicks.